So I think we can call to order then. Janie, I think you usually take our minutes for the Building and Grounds Committee meeting.
I do.
Would you be comfortable doing that for today as well?
Yeah.
Sounds good. So right at the top of the agenda here, I'm going to make a recommendation that we take a pause and move the minutes to the later in the meeting after we do the business, because there are about 7 of them, because we had a backlog that we needed to get through from when we were discussing the hiring of Engberg Anderson for interior design. So there were more of those than I remembered, and Shaun's time is important, so I think we should move him to the front here. Sound good? Sound like a plan?
Yes,
Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Excellent. We'll do that then, and we'll jump right in with Shaun. And first item up, Shaun, would be taking a look at the design schematics, the design ideas that had been sent around. Let me get those up here for photo sharing, unless you'd like to share them yourself.
I'll go ahead and share them if I can.
That is, I might need to give you that authority. Let me see here.
Oh,
there you go.
did it work?
It worked.
Okay. So what I'm hoping to do today, hello everyone, is go through about 5 different options that we've been putting together for this space and kind of get your reaction to them. It's really probably 3 options with a couple variations of 2. So as we talk through it, I'll try to explain, and then my last slide is more of a summary. So please ask questions at any time, but we can go back and review any of them. So as you know, the space that we're looking at here is not a huge room. And based on our review of the space and kind of understanding the needs of this room, we're going to talk about 6 seats. Basically,
did you say
6 seats or chairs. Right now we feel any more than that. There are ways to get more than that, but any more than that, and I think we're overwhelming the space. And I don't know if it's really the right. I think you're going to have too many people in the space if you would actually use all of them. But as we go through, I think that might become more apparent as we look at the plans. So I'm going to start out with just kind of walking through each of these options. Here's 1A. Here is the room in the lower left-hand corner. You can see the staircase to the mezzanine. And this isn't quite right. This is an older plan, but this is the staff space behind here. We've got to clean up some of this area here. I think these were added in because whatever, they're not there. This door isn't there either. So this room right here is what we're talking about. And one of the things that we took as one of our items that we're doing in all the options is this kind of glass wall and door. So in all 5 options, we've added in this element here to create the room. We are showing what's going to probably change the most is this idea of introducing a fireplace element. So we've got a fireplace element shown here on the left wall. We've got bookshelves on either side, and then basically this is a direct vent type of unit. It's 36 inches wide by about 30 inches tall. Within this space, we've shown 4 lounge chairs with some sort of, right now we're showing laptop tables that could be pulled up, or we could do some sort of central table, ottoman type table, and then a 2-person table in the corner. Now you might be asking what some of these graphics are. We do have an accessible turning area by every door. This is an area that we cannot put any furniture in, and there's no way around it. That's just the rules. So this is one of our limiting items here. And then we do have some radiant fin tube heating system along the windows. So we do know that we can't push the chairs straight up against that wall, that we do have those elements.
Shaun,
Mhm.
quick question. My understanding on doors was that they usually you want them to swing outward, like it was a code thing, in case of a fire. Would that not be the case with this room?
No, we don't. So the doors need to swing out when we exceed 49 people. So up until that
Okay.
point, we can swing them any way we want. So
Okay.
we could swing this out. That would reduce this area. So the area on a swing in is 5 foot by 4'6", and on
Okay.
an outward swing, it's 4 foot by 4 foot. So there is a similar square on this side. It's just a little smaller.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna interrupt real quick. Sorry, Kathy. We had another person join our call. I just wanted to stop real quick so that they could identify themselves so that Janie could get them included in the minutes. That's the phone number 5496.
Oh, yes. Hello, my name is Henry. I'm an intern with Engberg Anderson Architects.
Hello, Henry. What's your last name, Henry?
Heligas, Heligas.
Excellent. I have a memory that I think we've met. Name sounds familiar. So, okay, welcome to the meeting, Henry.
Thank you.
And Kathy, I interrupted you. So where were we?
I interrupted you. I apologize. Just a quick, I was going to ask this question 6 times and that'll save me. The door, I don't know where I came up with this plan, but I thought it was going to be a sliding door, which would give us greater access issues.
We whatever door we use, we still do need an area in front of it to meet accessible code. We could do a sliding door here. So our sliding door is, we can go up to 10 people with a sliding door, which this room will not have more than 10 people in it. So that would work. Sliding doors are a little bit more expensive. It's not double, but it's more expensive. And then also sliding doors are extremely hard to seal acoustically. So you get your best acoustics with a standard swing door, but we could definitely look at a sliding door if that's something you'd like us to investigate.
I'd be curious as to know the cost differences, since we're comparing everything.
Yeah.
So swing door, our rule of thumb is $2,500. So that includes the door, the hardware, and the installation. And then a sliding door would be about $4,000. So it's about $1,500 more. If they're solid, they're cheaper. If they're glass, they're more expensive.
And I should mention,
Oh, go ahead.
yep, go on, Bonnie.
Thanks. A clarifying question about the sliding door, and this is Bonnie. Are we talking about it looking like a barn door, so to speak, where the track is above the door and it slides right and left?
Right. There's a couple different options that it could look like, but we'd be looking at a ceiling mounted track.
Yep.
There would be a guide at the bottom, but there wouldn't be any track at the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And it would go, slide left and right. The locking of that, if that's required, there's a couple different options, but that would be a sliding door, correct?
Thank you. And then a quick follow-up. In the event that the committee decides that they want to try to preserve natural light passing from the windows on the south corner, on the south part of this room, through to the library, would there be a preferred door option, whether it's a swing door or a sliding door?
No, we anticipated this wall to be pretty glassy.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't a full glass door. A full glass door would be, it'd have glass all the way to the edges. We were anticipating about a 4-inch style. So it would be
4-inch frame.
4-inch frame and then the glass inside. That just works better with door hardware.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Could you please show me on this diagram, where is our service desk?
Sorry, the service desk is over here. It's a little bit out of frame.
Okay, all right. That helps me orient because I couldn't figure out this picture.
Yep,
Now-
sorry. So this room has a fireplace again, 2 shelves, 4 lounge chairs, and a 2-person table. So 6 total seats.
Mhm.
The next, and then we did do a quick image
So-
of this. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, nice.
Oh, it is very nice. Shaun, very quickly, because it'll inform our discussions a little bit. We did learn today that we had received another pledge for $15,000 for the fireplace specifically.
Okay.
So,
Good. Where'd that come from?
friends,
Good.
so that that will likely, impact, how we look at things. We were probably 95% on the fireplace anyways, but we've got a specific donation for it now. So we're 100% on that
Okay.
at this point. And it also means that those funds no longer need to draw on the 50,000 that Cal donated. So when we talk about the cost for the room, we should factor that in as well, that that item is being paid for separately.
That's fabulous. That's really
Yeah, that
fabulous.
is.
So these, go ahead.
I have a question. Shaun, is that just a generic fireplace that you put in there, or was that a particular? No.
No, we used a block, like one of our rendering blocks.
Okay.
So we would show you images of the options and you would get to pick.
Okay. Okay.
It is a pre-pack. We are proposing a pre-packaged unit. So we are going to be probably pretty limited to what different manufacturers have.
Sure, that makes sense.
Because this is as a direct vent fireplace, it's like everything's contained in the unit.
Right.
You can set it in and it vents and it exhausts all in one unit. So
All
a
right.
little different than a home.
Home fireplace, right? I got that. I just just my opinion. I love the look of this fireplace. It very much says Prairie Craftsman to me, and the building's not a Prairie Craftsman building. So I guess I was envisioning more of one of those more contemporary kinds that are just set into the wall without a lot of surround, and you could still do bookcases on either side of it. I don't know what everybody else was thinking, but that would be certainly one of the options I'd be interested in seeing.
Yeah, I plan to today. So we're going to have another meeting where we're going to review specifically furniture options, and we'll bring
Right.
the fireplace options and finishes. So I did want to say that a lot of this stuff is kind of placeholder. So
Right.
we grab some of our block tables, our block chairs, just put them in there to kind of give a feeling for the space.
Absolutely.
So
Thank you.
Yeah, my only last comment, I know you want to move on, and I appreciate that. The only is looking at this image, I think, I'm seeing a glass door, a sliding door, so that there's nothing swinging in front of my vision. I know nobody's going to be looking through that wall, but to me, it's much more spacious. And then knowing the door can slide and not intrude on any sitting for being open. I personally, would like that look.
I agree with you, Kathy. A door that swings in and out is just going to be in the way.
Right.
Oh, sorry, go ahead. Martha and I had a question about this is more geared towards the library people, but I noticed in some of the designs, some of them had storage options and some of them had bookshelf options, like with this one. Was there an intended use for these bookshelves? Like, was there an idea of something that of some collection or something that we were going to store in here?
I never heard that.
They could be shelves or storage cabinets. That would be they could be either. They're not. We just showed shelves in this one. We can change that to storage.
Would be a nice spot for magazines if we could relocate that space somehow.
I was going to say that I don't know that our magazine collection is probably too large to fit
reason.
Newspapers would though.
Oh, that could
Yeah.
be.
That's
the
kind of
other-
what we had in mind for the
The
purpose.
reason we had asked about it was there was some concern about having a collection in there just because it wouldn't be available 100% of the time if the room is in use, especially if there's a meeting going on. So that's kind of where we were coming with that.
I don't think there was any discussion as far as anything in particular. I don't know that we even discussed having shelving, non-storage shelving in there previously, so.
That was what I had remembered, but I also was like, well, I didn't, maybe there was, there was a discussion that we had missed or something. So I just wanted to clarify.
Well, I do remember talking about possibility of using the south wall, parts of the south wall for storage.
Yeah, I remember the storage discussions,
Yeah.
just wasn't sure about bookshelves or possibly having part or whole of a collection in there.
It seems to me that if we use that for an active storage space, that would kind of negate the purpose of having a quiet room.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and Janie, I'll build on that. This is Bonnie again. I think if there's something stored in there and the room is in use for a small meeting, it may not be accessible. Same point that Katie and Martha were making about newspapers being in there. So I'll just share, when I saw the bookshelves, I thought, oh, that would be nice, for display, to soften the room with statues or vases or whatever, just to again, kind of make it a little more welcoming and a little softer.
Well, I think that probably makes the most sense, Bonnie, but as librarians, when we see flat horizontal surfaces, we want to put books on those.
Or at least storage, because I know that storage is something we are always in need of here. And I think the question of having storage for library staff that may not always be accessible versus storage for materials for our patrons that may not always be accessible. The storage for staff seems like it would fill a need and also be less disruptive to our patrons as they enter the building.
We can work around that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the issues that came up when we walked through is that putting bookshelves on that south wall is going to interfere with heating, and the fireplace is going to have to address. We have to address the heating, and there's just, and it's a small room, so we have to address the heating. So probably less interference with the existing heating and cooling systems is the best plan and cost effective and most efficient without tearing up the whole building. But we hear you.
Yeah, we have kind of these spaces on either side if we do a fireplace on this wall. That just made some sense to put some sort of storage in. You are right, there would be a cost, and it is not the most convenient space to put storage underneath these, just because we will have to take this fin tube, which you can barely see here. You can see a little piece of it here. We would move that up and put storage underneath. Still possible. I think one of the problems we have, which maybe isn't a problem that you guys would have, is we would not want to put any sort of seating in front of it along this wall. And then that really limits the amount of people we can put in that room. But there are some other options coming up. So
Let's look at those.
you may not like 1B then. 1B is a version of 1 in which we got rid of the fireplace because we weren't sure, and we put a monitor there. So we can just skip through 1B.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. 1C, or option 2, we looked at a different location of the fireplace in the corner. In this option, it's a very similar fireplace, so still like a 36-inch or a 3-foot wide by about a 30-inch tall fireplace. We have 2 lounge chairs that could be moved around. We just showed them here. And then instead of, we went with 2 two-person tables, kind of along that south board. So a little bit more of a study table focus versus a lounge focus. And then you also notice that the door was moved in the center. Now, if we did this and put some shelves, we say bookshelves, but this, let's just refer to this from now on as storage of some sort, shelving or closed. This layout of the door would not work with a sliding door. It is, we don't have enough room to slide. We've only got, in the center, it doesn't work. So we could not use a sliding door in this design. And that's kind of, you're seeing the wall in front of you off. So these could be storage cabinets or shelving, some lounge chairs, a corner fireplace, and two two-person tables. And I'll just end with this. We can always mix and match. So if you're like, I really like the corner fireplace and 4 lounge chairs, we can do that. We can combine those options. You would just be giving up one of the two-person study tables. So there's ways to mix and match the different options.
Hey, Shaun, Bonnie, again, a quick question on the location of the corner fireplace. Is there a reason why it's sort of the northwest corner of that room as opposed to the southwest corner?
Not really. We felt that we could get a little bit more seating in than, sorry, we're going the wrong way. By putting it here, this wall has the door on it, so it's a little bit, it's got a challenge. It's got a issue with that. I think in the corner here, we may not get in as much seating, but there's no reason we couldn't move it to the south.
Got it. Thank you.
All right, well, I'll keep going. If there's questions, we can go back. Option 3A is similar. We just put that fireplace again on the north side of the room, 2 lounge chairs and 2 study tables, a different kind of layout here, just moving around. We went back to that swing door in the corner, so this could be a sliding door as well. And then we do have the option for a little bit of storage on either the left or the right of the fireplace in here. And you can kind of see it. We're not really showing the storage. We were trying to also show that maybe we could get a monitor above the fireplace. I don't know if this is really a great location though, because I don't, maybe that monitor needs to be on the brick wall so that it can be more open to, like if you wanted to use this as a meeting space and use that monitor. I think in most of these, we could incorporate a monitor relatively easily in addition to a fireplace. I think with option 1 and option 3, no problem. Option 2 may have a little bit of challenges there, but not insurmountable. So, all right. You are not gonna like option 3B then. Because, so options 1B and 3B just exchange the fireplace for a monitor. Basically similar layout, similar storage options. So. These might be a very confusing drawing, but we can go back through. I guess I'm just looking for any sort of feedback like the sliding door. That was perfect, exactly what we needed. You prefer a sliding door, awesome. I don't know if there's a preference on the types of seating available in the room, if more lounge or more study tables are preferred.
Well, I'll weigh in here. I felt the same way when I first looked at your schematics here without even seeing the mock-up of the space. I think option 1, definitely when you look at the space, the way you have it set up with the fireplace, even if that's not the fireplace we went with, that room is to me kind of telling us to put a fireplace on that brick wall. And not only that, but to center it on that brick wall, because there's nothing else symmetric about the room. I think it just gives it a grace that the others, when you show it with the furniture in it, the mock-up just doesn't seem nearly as inviting to me. So I just throw that out there. But you know, that would be my preference. And I think my preference would also be to go with one with a sliding door instead of the swinging door.
Janie, I agree. I think the fireplace on the west, that's the west wall
Yeah.
centered, makes the room feel bigger.
It
You know,
does.
I think some
It
of the
does.
other fireplace locations, it feels like it's cramped in there, like it was an afterthought.
Yes, I agree.
Whereas it feels like, oh, that was originally intended to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I agree with the sliding door just to make it a little more roomy. I think that you know, the table and chair right there in front of the where you would walk into the room, I think it's going to be a little, even without the swinging door, I think it's going to be, I don't think it'll be highly used just because I think it might feel like it's in a high traffic area. I don't see a solution to it. I just point out that, you know, when a chair is right in a walkway, it's certainly not the first place I think that people will gravitate toward.
Okay, let me just add one more thing to that, Bonnie. I would imagine, Shaun, that you're not gonna pull a Frank Lloyd Wright on us and come in and move the furniture back to your schematic if we rearrange it.
Maybe. No.
He was famous for doing that in people's houses. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think, you know, there's got to be a layout that, you know, in quotations, meets some accessibility code, which these do.
Right.
But people can move chairs, so you can move them wherever you want.
I think, well, I don't know which preferences Martha has. I do agree. I like the fireplace on the brick wall. So options 1A and 1B, I think, are the ones I think make the most amount of sense. I do just want to mention, since it seems like a lot of the people here have a preference for the sliding glass door versus the swinging glass door. If this room is going to be used for meeting spaces, is what Shaun mentioned, the acoustics, are much harder to like what soundproof the room with a or not soundproof it, but muffle the acoustics in the room with a sliding glass door. Is that possibly going to be an issue if we have smaller meetings? Or I know we mentioned using it for smaller board meetings like this one, or committee meetings. You know, would that be something that we want to take into consideration?
I mean, when we talk about a difference in keeping the sound out, you know, what sort of difference are we talking about? Is it, you know, different decibel levels, you know?
So sliding doors, just you're gonna need, there's a lot of factors that go into this, my answer. One is you don't have an air return in this room. You only have a supply. So one of the ways that we can return air, and it is done very typically, is as a door undercut. So, you know, they hold the door off the floor about a ½ inch. Most of your home works a lot like this. If we do that, that's an acoustic avenue. That's an acoustic break. But that's basically how, like your normal door, you have a little undercut on it, but you're sealed all along the edges. So your only acoustic pathway is under the door. With a sliding door, all your edges are open. So the acoustic pathway is the outline of the door. You can put little bushings and things around it to kind of mitigate it, but it's never as good as a door seal. But I think for this space, because we are a little bit challenged with air return, I think acoustics is going to be limited without a significant investment in a return system. So we were probably thinking about returning air through the door, undercut of a door, as one of the options, but I haven't talked enough with my engineer to give you all the options today on how we deal with the HVAC. Sorry, that's a roundabout answer to say they both might be acoustically compromised, but sliding doors are much more than regular doors.
Yeah, I foresee this door being open most doors are open most of the time. This is supposed to be a welcoming people into the library, someplace to sit quietly. I guess you could slide the door, but nowhere in our library is anything silent. And never have I been in a meeting that I haven't, heard cars in the parking lot, kids in the downstairs. It's not particularly distracting, and it's not something that has ever really gotten in the way of a meeting. So I don't see that as, I think there's enough obstacles building this room right that a little bit of noise. I'd much rather have, knowing I might be in a meeting someday, I might have the door closed and I might want it really quiet versus having that door just open and taking up space in a very small room. I think that's it. If you weigh those two factors, I think overwhelmingly the sliding door is preferable in my opinion.
I was thinking more along the lines of noise from inside the room coming out into the larger library rather than having noise coming in and disturbing. But that was just something that popped to my mind.
I see
So
what you mean.
you know,
that would occur during a meeting situation.
Exactly. Yeah. Just something that came into my mind that I wanted to bring up.
So I guess I'm just kind of wondering here, is this one of those differences where both of them would probably do pretty okay, pretty good with keeping out normal conversational voices, either from getting out or from getting in? Is it one of those that we're really looking at? Because in that case, if it's not as big of a deal then if it's mostly like, well, if somebody starts shouting or screaming in there, will they, how much of that noise is being dampened? If that's getting to be the main consideration, then we're probably on okay ground to think more about other factors, though it's good to know that one does better with that than another, just because we're not likely to have a lot of people yelling in there, I wouldn't think.
Right, I think it is.
Fingers crossed.
Right. I think it is just more of a, hey, one of these performs better. We use sliding doors on study rooms all the time.
Okay.
But it's not as good as a swing door. It's really just more of informational.
I was going to say, some of the spaces that I've seen captured for study rooms have been pretty diminutive, where they wouldn't necessarily have worked if they'd had a door that didn't slide.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay.
Are there any further comments on any of these? I can go back to 1A if that tends to be the more preferred option, and kind of talk through some things that would be helpful to think about. So, the area on the plan on the left that's labeled bookshelves, we can do a combination of closed storage. We can do open shelves. We can do closed. So we can do some shelves, some storage. We can do all storage. It can be lockable. It could be in glass. You can put a glass door in it so you can see what's behind it, but maybe you can't touch it without staff. There's a mantle that we were kind of showing here, but shelving could go up higher. This could be a storage area and shelving could be below. There's tons of options here. I think what I'm looking for is what types of things would you like to display or store? And then we can make sure that we design the storage or shelving or whatever it is a little bit more specific to what your need might be. So, and then when we start talking about furniture, kind of thinking in the back of your mind, do I like 4 lounge chairs, which it sounds like that is the way to go, or do I want to try to fit another 2-person table in this room? We could look at a 4-person table here, but in our mind that we would highly recommend against that. It's just too many people and it just doesn't really work. But we could force it in if more seating is requested. Oh, going the wrong way.
What is that space above the mantelpiece, above the? That-
Yeah, so one thing that we haven't fully designed yet is that there will be an insulated flue that will come out of the top of the fireplace and then go out the side of your building. And it's gonna be somewhere in this zone here. So and we were just gonna hide it we're just gonna encase that flue or the vent pipe.
And if you wanted to put a monitor in this room, would it be on top of that venting thing?
We could put it there, or we could put it on the opposite wall
Oh,
here. So it could be fireplace on one side. Sorry, I'm gonna go to the right plan. Fireplace on one side, monitor on the other.
gotcha.
And we are intending to build out this wall. It may not look thick enough yet, but we are tending to fur it out a little bit for power and acoustics. So we are trying to reinforce this wall a little bit between staff.
Would it help the library, Eric, if we had those 2 bookcases, if they went to this, if they went higher, and then we just had the brick in the center? I don't know, I'm just.
Well, I think that would be mostly a design choice. 'Cause I think we've established that most likely what we would have around the bookcases around the fireplace would be, you know, objet d'art and interesting items, statues of cats, statues of geese, those sorts of things, statues of cat geese.
I mean, I also see that as someone who walks in with their laptop and and someplace to put it. I mean, there's not much in that room and there's not much furniture. You put your purse over on that shelf and then you read your book. So there's some use to just having the shelves there.
That could be a consideration that we circle back to when we look at the furniture options as
Yeah.
well. I know that it isn't featured here with our kind of stand-in chairs, but I have seen a lot of innovative furniture that includes exactly that, like a little desk area that can be folded up for somebody to use. So something to consider when we take a look at it. I think that's well observed. We have a lot of people that come in and look to quietly work on a laptop. I don't know that more shelving, if it's around the fireplace, would be much help. If we were going to do more shelving, I would think it would be on the east or south walls.
Yeah.
That would
It
be
really would.
library
to
storage
me, it
space.
kind of crimps the room the more we put over there. So we got to be careful about that.
So one option could be that the around the fireplace is storage on the bottom, shelving above. The storage, I'm not sure again the dimensions exactly of the room, but we might then be back to the conversation of, does that storage have a sliding door or a swing out door? But that's fairly, typical. I think most fireplace surrounds, right, to have storage on the bottom and then additional shelving above. We can provide some storage for the library staff and display space to make it cozy. And I'll close out my comment by saying I would propose that a monitor go above the 2-person table, not above the fireplace. I think I would recommend we reserve any space directly above the fireplace for when and if anyone ever wanted to donate a painting to the library or
we're circulating artwork from the local artist group. So
I would love that. I think that'd be wonderful.
Okay.
Great. I really appreciate everyone's comments today. They're very helpful.
Good.
I think our next goal is going to be we'll refine this based on your comments today. Maybe see a few different options based on some of the things I've written down here. And then really our next step is furniture and finishes. So great.
Can I throw just one more thing in there that I was thinking about? Would it be possible to, if we do some sort of bookshelf thing, to have the backs be the brick?
Yes, it would.
I would love us to take as much advantage of that natural brick in there as we possibly can.
Yep, that's a great idea.
And maybe matching it up with the beams on the top in terms of the wood.
Mhm.
And then Shaun, I'll just quickly add a comment about the furnishings for next time. Just the items that were chosen for position only for discussion today prompt me to say this. I know they're just for position, but I just want to make sure that the table and chairs and then the cozier chairs closer to the fireplace all look cohesive. Like they look like they were all purchased at the same time and fit together. Because right now it looks a little like
Right.
hodgy-podgy.
We have not, I have not asked for input yet on these. They just got done this last Friday from our interior designer. So I think she might have the same comments. Like, did you have to pick two completely different chairs?
Okay, so I think that takes us to the conclusion then of our discussion on the designs. And unless we have any other questions for Shaun, I'll segue over to a quick discussion of the CRS study that.
If I can jump in, please. Shaun, when we met and had our walk around with several of the gentlemen from your firm and our project manager, I'm going to refer to a document I have here. It's September 3rd, 2019, and it's a bunch of images of the inside of the library. And number 8 has lettering up the stairway, which I believe is vinyl, saying Lakewood Library. I mentioned it at the meeting, and one of the fellows with you was the designer who actually put them there. He said he would get us a price on that, an very rough estimate sort of thing. And could you get that to Eric whenever it's available? I have a curiosity about that.
Yeah, I believe we sent that. I'll follow up because we do have, we're going to be utilizing Shaul McNutt, who's also on the team, for estimating services.
Okay.
So I think we sent something to them and they sent back questions like how big,
yeah,
material. And I don't know if we followed up on that, but yes, I'll get back to the signage.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank you. So jumping in then to the capital resource study, which we have a quote from Engberg Anderson to perform. So what is it? Well, it is something that we discussed earlier this year in the Building and Grounds Committee and the possibility of having it done. Basically, we would have Engberg Anderson in to come and do a study of the existing infrastructure, the mechanical, the electrical, and take a look and see what the status of things is, what things are likely to need replacing soon, and to give us a projected time as far as when things would need to be replaced. So I wanted to have a meeting where we circled back to this one because I think it's something that becomes more important with Lindy's retirement. Over the past years, Lindy and I have kind of worked as a team to do building projects and things around the facilities. But that's obviously a shorter team without Lindy on staff. And even before Lindy had determined to retire, she and I had discussed on more than one occasion that it would be very advantageous to the library to get more involvement from folks that were professionals in working with assessing and maintaining facilities. Lindy and I, as librarians, both have very good research skills, and I feel like we were and are always game to educate ourselves on whatever. But as the building has gotten older, the issues have tended to get more involved and more complicated and more frequent, which has kind of again started pushing that discussion as far as it might be better if we found a way to get more professional expertise. So I've been talking with Shaun as far as following up on the CRS study. After doing that study, having talked with Shaun as far as where we stand, my understanding, and Shaun can speak to this a little bit, is that that there is an expectation then on Engberg Anderson's part that that we will come to them if we have questions or need advice as far we're approaching any of the projects on there that they've gone through and surveyed. I think that's a good starting point as far as stepping up that professional level of service and involvement for maintaining the facilities, and that we could ramp up the level of service if we so desired from there. So I wanted to be sure that I put that out in front of the Building and Grounds Committee. I had sent out the contract to everybody. The cost for the service would be $7,500. And Shaun, could you say just a quick word or two as far as the value of a CRS?
Yeah, we do a lot of these. Basically, it's just a plan for you to understand and budget appropriately throughout the years, and usually they're updated every, I'd say 10 years. But what they do is they go through all of your equipment. This one is specifically MEP based, and assess the current condition, talk through what costs would be to replace that equipment, and then escalate that out and basically estimate it for the future. So, you just did a HVAC project. That equipment would be assessed. It would be, we put it into the spreadsheet, and then the spreadsheet automatically calculates, okay, this is a 20-year life or 25-year life piece of equipment. In the year 2045, this equipment will cost X. And what that allows you to do then is kind of anticipate these from a long term, like, hey, we should be putting away either this much money every month, or we should make sure our special reserve is this much, so that we can, within this time frame, be able to address these. So things that right now the contract is really mainly focused on having our mechanical, electrical, fire protection, plumbing engineers come through your building and kind of assess everything. I was using that as an example, and then they would come up with this spreadsheet and turn it over to the library that can use it for maintenance or capital studies. Typically there's kind of a threshold. You guys get to, it's very customizable, but typically it's around that $10,000 mark. Anything below 10,000 usually ends up into a maintenance bucket that could be done either annually or by whatever the time frame is. And anything over 10,000 ends up being more of a capital replacement. And that's something that gets, the goal of it is to try to plan for it and make sure that you know what's upcoming, and that you're setting, your levies properly, and you're putting savings away so that you can anticipate maintenance of the building. Is that, hopefully that's good.
So it would go a long way to providing clarity as far as what we've got and what we should be paying attention to.
Eric, have we
Mhm.
already done pieces of this? I mean, wasn't the recent HVAC work we did part of a study of the viability of the HVAC system and so on and so forth? I'm just curious because it seems to me we've talked about this sort of thing before. I understand EA would do a comprehensive on all the systems in the building.
We haven't really, we've not really paid for any sort of system assessment. I think what we've generally gotten is, you know, certain systems we need to have somebody check on them routinely. HVAC is certainly one of those. And either when something breaks or when somebody's out on maintenance, sometimes our maintenance folks will tell us, you know, this looks like it could be a problem. Or have you thought about replacing this? It looks like it's getting towards the end of its life. And usually, most often, our reaction is, "Oh, thank you for telling me." So that's generally how we get our information. And Lindy and I, to some extent, have gotten into the habit of just we try and get information out of these guys when they come out. It's not always in their best interest as far as, you know, wanting to give us a ton of knowledge to educate us on our own machinery. But we try and get as much as we can out of them as far as, you know, why is it doing that? You know, how much longer is that going to last? But the catch with all of that is that you know, it's not a whole system picture. It's gleaning what we can. And one of the things I feel very strongly about is that too often in the life of the library, we've had things that have just gone kaput because, you know, we didn't have any sort of review or service or maintenance, and they were something, say, on a 20-25 year lifespan, and by the time they got to the end of the lifespan, they were something that had just kind of always been there, and no one had probably thought about them in as much as 15 years. So I think something that's a real survey aimed at a full picture, looking at, you know, where things stand in terms of what condition they're in, when we'll need to replace them based off of that, and projecting out the costs, I think would be an incredibly useful planning tool. And I also think would help us avoid, well, you can never completely avoid surprises, but you can reduce their quantity. You can bring the number down. And that's helpful for planning budgetarily as well. Because if you control if you control how many or what kind of surprises you can get, you can become more focused on your budgeting and more confident in that, because you know you're not going to have too many really nasty surprises likely to befall you. So I think it would be really worthwhile as far as something to pursue.
And sorry, there's one thing I did miss on here, Eric, that I know a lot of other libraries use this for as well, is communication back to the public. Sometimes public kind of say, well, why do you have such a high special reserve? Or what are you using this money for? And this is hopefully a document that you can point to and say, hey, we're planning for these replacements over this period of time.
Yeah. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, you had mentioned that, Shaun, and I have no idea how I forgot that, because I immediately envisioned the meeting, Kathy, where we were standing up in front of the village board, talking about the capital expenses that we expected, and thinking, well, that would have been a nice professional document to have just like, here you go.
And they asked us.
Yeah.
They asked us right out there.
Yeah,
So.
and we had answers, but again, it was very much, you know, grab as we can information and then pull it together into a document that we made, you know, versus, like, well, we had professional engineering assess, all the building, and here's what we're looking at. It's got
And I
costs
think
and everything
going
on there.
forward in fundraising, a savvy donor is going to ask us the exact same question. They don't
Yeah.
want to give us $100,000 and then find out we spent it on,
Yeah.
tuck pointing. So we need to be prepared with those answers.
Well, and if you're, you want to entrust, gifts to people that are responsible. And I think, again, it would speak to level of responsibility. Keeping our eye on the ball for the maintenance of the current facilities suggests we're going to do that for the any addition to the building. So what I would look for today is I do want to have this passed because it's a money item, the finance committee as well. I think that would make sense, just so that they're at least have a chance to look at it and ask any questions they might have. So for the Building and Grounds Committee today, I would really look just for a motion to recommend approval pending the Finance Committee review.
Eric, before any kind of motion like that, I have a question on the
Fire away.
proposal itself.
Yes.
So Shaun, on page 2, fees and expenses stated not to exceed $12,000 and only ever being kind of a homeowner that's paid for an inspection. I was a little taken aback. And then turn the page, top of page 3, it appears that the Engberg Anderson total is $7,500. Is the difference between a max of 12 and 7.5 some additional fees that we would have to plan for from mechanical and electrical engineers coming through?
I was muted. No, and I did, I was reviewing this while we were talking and I saw that same thing. So our typical fee range for a full comprehensive review is between $11,000 and $15,000. The $7,500 that you actually see there is really our engineer's fee. So what we did with Eric is we kind of pulled out the architectural piece. So really, there's a small amount in here for us to coordinate, review, and write the report, which is $1,000. And the $6,500 is really a company that we have hired is named IMEG. We use them a lot. They are very familiar with libraries, so that's why we use them a lot. And that's really, so really this is mostly their project with a little bit of us coordination and writing the report. The 12,000 would have included things like a full architectural assessment of the building as well.
So what would can we consider $12,000 to be a typo and it should be 7,500 or?
Yes, yeah, the original, we edited the original document and we missed that line.
Okay.
And I can
Shaun,
resend that to you, Eric.
Thank you. Good catch. Good catch, Bonnie. And on the architectural, really, as I talked over with Shaun, what would be involved there, kind of came to feel that wasn't something that was anywhere near as critical for us right now. We just had the big roof replacement, and as part of that roof replacement, we pretty much had to redo just about everything up above, including metalwork and masonry. So, that's only been up there a year. We know what the status of that is. And at the same time, we also went through and we made a point of catching brickwork and things along masonry around the sides of the building that needed some patchwork as well. So architecturally, I don't think that there's too many mysteries that we need to solve right now. 10 years down the road, looking at the next permutation, yeah, I think you definitely include it at that point. But I think for this contract, I think the electrical, the engineering, those I think are the things that really interest us in terms of clarity on those.
Bonnie, thanks for bringing this up to look at it a little more carefully. Shaun, the $6,500 that you're paying to a firm, what is the firm's name?
His name is IMEG, IMEG.
Okay, so will IMEG fee us $6,500 for coming out and doing the book? Or are they also, they're the ones that inspect the plumbing and electrical? So we're
Yeah.
not paying 65 plus separate invoices to 10 people.
No, no, they usually send out at least, well, typically 2 to 3 engineers. We spend a day, at least a morning, if not a full day in your building, walking around. I would probably be there to do a little meeting with Eric and the whole team. And then Lindy, if she wants to come back in and tell us about anything that she remembers. But then they would go through all the equipment. They kind of walk through the building and really, right, there's no separate invoice. It's just
Okay.
this.
So we wouldn't expect any billing over and above the 7,500.
Nope.
Right? Okay, thank you.
And so another question. Would it make sense for us to have kind of option A, option B of this report? Option A being library footprint doesn't change over the next 5 years. Option B, library footprint expands over the next 5 years. So I assume there could be some capacity issues with the electric, with the HVAC, et cetera.
Yeah, I probably want to talk more with my engineers as to what that would look like. We would have to obviously give them a parameter of what would be the expansion, which I think we know. I mean, we've worked with Eric and you guys on what that could look like. But I do believe that your system really isn't sized to go much beyond your current building. So with a addition, if you were planning to add on to your building, I think you're going to be looking at either newer equipment or additional equipment, because you can do it one of two ways. You can either improve what you have or add a small mechanical room for just the addition. So I'd have to talk more with them on how they would look at that. And they would probably want to see your current equipment before responding to.
Is that something that you could perhaps take a look at as far as what would be, because that would be good to know.
As I recall from going over, I've been going through all these plans, there, exactly as Shaun said, there is a mechanical room that was addressed. And I don't think we would ever begin to expand without that evaluation. So I think basically what we're proposing now is the building as it is. I think logically we wouldn't begin to presume that adding, well, if we added square feet, it's not just a few. I mean, it would, you know, we've had such a finicky HVAC system. I can't imagine it working if we overstress it with the new building.
Well,
so I think we're covered myself.
And I'm looking back, I'm trying to pull up the 2019 report. I would have assumed and I don't have it top of mind right now, but in the estimate we gave you would have been mechanical modifications. So we probably have that number already, what it would look like to expand the building, but I don't have, again, I'm gonna have to do a little digging on that.
Yeah, and I'm just looking to prevent spending any money creating a maintenance plan that isn't useful.
Yeah, they would definitely take into account the idea of possible expansion. Now, I don't know if it's two different cost models that they're developing, but I know that they're going to take into account, hey, this is coming due within the next, I don't know, I'm just going to make up a scenario here. This is coming due in the next 5 years. This should be allocated or itemized in a renovation expansion. So, and we've done that before. For example, the Palatine Public Library, they had a referendum and they had a capital reserve plan. So they had money that they already had saved that came out of their special reserves to take care of these items. And then they also renovated the building. And we had to keep 2 columns of costs ongoing. One that affected things that they were going to do no matter what, and one that they wanted to do just to update the building. So I know that kind of exactly what you're saying is where I'm going to, is that we would definitely call out things that would be probably part of a renovation expansion, and then we would ask you for those dates. Like, is that the next 10 years? Is that the next 20 years? What time frame? Because then we can look at what mechanical and building systems go in with that and kind of plan around that as a separate set. And then the document can really be set up in a lot of different ways. So I think we'd be talking a little bit more in detail with Eric and then you guys once we would be, we've done that field visit and field report about how we've split things up and organize it.
Sounds good, Shaun. Thanks for sharing the example of the Palatine Library. That gives me I feel rest assured. You have an idea of what I'm thinking about here with just having options in mind.
Mhm.
All right, so if anybody else has anything to add, maybe we should entertain a motion to recommend the entire board with the oversight of the finance committee to adopt this contract.
Before we do that, I'd like to talk finances a little bit. So if we don't, let's wrap up with Shaun, and then he doesn't need to sit through all those conversations. And then
Sounds good. Any other questions for Shaun? Shaun, I know you're busy, so we should probably get you going here. Hearing none, I think you're free to go, Shaun.
Okay.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Shaun.
Thank you for taking some time out of your
Thank
afternoon.
you.
Much appreciated.
All right. Bye.
And I can leave too now, right?
Leave too.
Yeah. I mean, you're not physically here, so we can't
Shove me out the door.
drag ourselves, drape ourselves around your ankles and beg you to stay, but
No, but I mean, what I am most interested in, I think we've discussed, and that's that
Yes.
room.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely.
So
Thank you, Gal. Thanks a lot.
Bye-bye.
thank you for being with us, Cal.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Take care.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, so Eric, just tell us where the money's going to come from and how it fits into our budget.
Well, right now, what I am working on is factoring it in as part of the transition from Lindy and having that someone on staff that is a regular contributor to the building projects. I have, in truth, not fully finished calculating exactly where it'll fit into the budget. If we want to play on the more careful side, what we could always do is just leave it until the start of next fiscal year. I don't think, as far as a project, that it's a must do in the next 5 months before we would get there. I mean, it would be a plus. It would be a plus if we could do it sooner, because then we get the information and could potentially take that into account, for our budget considerations for the next fiscal year. But it's not going to be critical, I don't think, to get it, right now. I think it's something we need to start looking at right now. But I think if the follow through on it is 5 months from now, that would probably be okay. So, I had very much, as far as a proposal on this, very much meant, approval on the building and ground side, pending approval from the finance committee. Yeah. Because I think some of the other things that we've discussed recently, like paying for the interior design and things, they're important. We need to do them. And really, it was more a matter of, where we were going to shuffle money from and where the give in the budget was. This, I think, is a little bit more, you know, it would be good to have, but if there's not a lot of wiggle room in the budget right now, then maybe we do it in 5 months. I think that's really the discussion and what I was planning to bring to the finance committee, who's meeting tomorrow.
I think that sounds like a good plan. May as well get the approval from this committee, and then, you know, we've got, talk to finance. When we finish the budget process, we're in a much better position to take a look for the next 5 months, and then we have a budget ahead of us. So I think that's a good
Yes.
plan.
So yeah, for the building and ground side, I was really focused today on, you know, this is what we're looking at. I think it would be incredibly useful for a lot of different reasons. So let's, you know, take a look, make sure that it's something that's going to be useful, and then we'll take a look on the finance side of things and when we would be able to cover that cost and get it on a schedule accordingly.
Eric, you alluded to with Lindy leaving, were you planning on replacing her with somebody who would take on her building duties? I mean, what and how soon is she leaving? I mean, I was kind of shocked to hear that she was retiring in the first place. And
I think,
did I miss some? I mean, it wasn't today. It was before that I heard, but
okay, yeah, good.
Wasn't today for the first time.
Yeah, I mean, she hadn't given any previous indication that she was leaning towards it, but you know, there's a lot of personal reevaluation to, I think, for a lot of people to come out of COVID.
Gotcha.
But what we're taking a look at doing is first and foremost, getting our salary scale boosted up, lifting ourselves up there by our bootstraps. What we're finding is that you know, with the hiring market as it currently is, that it's very challenging to be hiring for positions that still start at $3 under 15.
Wow.
And the recent hiring efforts that really went out, we got very, very little in terms of response. And you know, you can't chalk all of that up to the wage, but it's certainly not helping. We've heard, you know, even before 2021 from other folks in the community that had indicated that, you know, like, I would be interested in applying, but you know, have you seen where your salary scale starts versus, you know, what somebody could make at, you know, just working at behind a store counter in the area. So working on doing that, that would also give us a lot of breathing room actually in terms of how we look at annual raises and those expenditures going forward, and get us back on track as far as how we approach those. Because right now, for the last several years, the need to year by year boost up our salaries at the low end of the scale has been taking up most of our raise pool, probably 50 to 60% of it. And that makes it a challenge as far as rewarding the folks on you know, the higher end of the scale, who are our professionals that we've been trying to really target for staff retention and getting their salaries up on par as much as possible with other professional equivalent professional positions in the area. So it would help us in a lot of ways. It would also be a big positive for staff coming out of you know, the last year and a half to see that impact on their salaries. I think good things all around. And then on the professional side of things, you know, I think that with looking at Lindy's responsibilities, we've had a few small hours increases for a couple staff members who've picked up some of Lindy's responsibilities, specifically with databases and some of the tangential cataloging stuff that Lindy works on. I'm jumping in on the building stuff and then looking at getting more professional advice that we bring in to support what we're doing in-house as well, to pick up some of the slack there. And then we'll be hiring a position, not as a full-time person to replace, but as a 24-hour-a-week person that would be a technology assistant who would pick up, a bunch of Lindy's remaining responsibilities that haven't been picked up by anybody currently on staff. So that, attempting to and failing to keep it as a 30-second explanation and clearly going closer to 2 minutes is the plan. So in the HR committee had met and discussed on that last week.
Which I missed. Sorry.
So I'm sorry. I
That
interrupted.
happens. That happens.
Got us off. So Janie, if you want to go ahead with your motion, we'll just approve it for the future.
Okay, well, I will be happy to move that pending the approval of the finance committee, that we recommend to the full board the acceptance of this contract with Engberg Anderson.
I second.
Thank you, Bonnie.
All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
I'm sorry, Janie, can we just say pending the approval of the finance committee and budget review?
Okay.
Would you like to move the amended?
Oh, yes.
Janie?
Oh, sure, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, move the amended version of what I said before.
Bonnie, did you second or?
I did second, yes. And I'll
Okay.
second the amended
Okay.
motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Did you say aye, Kathy?
Oh, yes, I.
Yeah, okay. I assumed, but any opposed? Hearing none, motion carries.
Yay.
Thank you all. Okay, I think that takes us through that. Did we want to circle back around, and was there anything else we want to discuss about the plans? Otherwise, I think we're towards the end of the meeting.
I've certainly, Bonnie, I commend you for the things you've caught here. But I think that I can't think of anything else I want to say about the plans. I really am very excited to see this starting to come together.
It's going to be so nice.
Yeah,
Yeah, great news about the additional funding for the fireplace.
that's fantastic.
Yes, I literally I think that was just like an hour and a half before the meeting today. We finally got the word from Eileen.
Melissa, Eric worked very
Yes.
hard on this, obviously, but Melissa is, she has risen to her position and far exceeded
Mhm.
my expectations with her enthusiasm and
Yeah.
positive, and she made a great impression on the
Right.
friends, and she made a
Yeah.
great sale. So
Melissa makes a very good impression.
yes, yes.
Anytime that she's needed to get up and state the case for something, does a great job.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
okay.
I think the only other thing we had were the minutes, and I do have
Oh, yes.
comments on 2 of the minutes.
Thank you for reminding me. We cannot continue to let the building and grounds minutes pile up. We had a bunch of meetings in a row, and then the minutes didn't keep pace with the meeting, so we ended up with a whole bunch of them here.
Oh, that
in
was
November.
my fault too, I think. I think I was behind by 2. Am I caught up?
You are caught up now.
Oh, okay, well, not now, because I got these. to
Well,
do, but
yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
So, okay. The first minutes that it looks like we have for discussion will be the ones for July 1st. Shall we just jump in on order? Do them in chronological order?
sure.
Sure.
Okay.
I have no comments, additions. I'm not sure how we can do this quickly, but
Well,
July 1st is all good.
we can try and keep.
Eric?
We
Eric,
can't hear you, Eric. We can't hear you. Can you hear us? I'll try a chat. Did you guys hear that beep as well before he muted?
Yes, I thought that was a fire alarm or something.
There we
Yeah.
go.
oh,
All
There we
right.
go.
okay.
These are getting wonky. I'm gonna have to get another pair.
Okay, well,
So
So-
July 1st, I recommend approval pending any other discussion.
I second July 1st approval.
Aye.
I,
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Next ones up chronologically are July 22nd. Are there any questions, comments regarding the July 22nd minutes?
There, so.
No. I motion to approve the July 22nd minutes of the Building and Grounds Committee.
Janie, I wasn't there, so why didn't you second?
oh, okay. All right, I'll second my own minutes. So
Well, you know they're good. You wrote them.
I wrote them, yeah.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Excellent. Okay. And that takes us up to August the 16th.
Wow. We have created a backlog.
Well,
I
you,
have created a backlog.
there were 3 or 4 that you did all at once, and then there was a meeting there as well where I forgot that I had all of those and forgot to get them on the calendar, unfortunately.
Okay.
So unless there's any additions or corrections, I move to approve August 16th.
I second.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. And that is going to take us up to August the 23rd.
I was gonna say,
I
there's
have August
one
20th.
more, I know.
24 or 23rd? There's 24.
23rd.
23rd, yeah. pretty
Okay.
sure.
Third.
There's a
There's 23rd, 24th, and 30th. Those are the
week. Oh,
remaining ones.
geez. Man,
We were meeting pretty regular there for a bit. It was no wonder that there was some catch up, so no worries.
I don't have August 23rd.
Neither do
Oh.
I. Can you
They were-
display them?
Yeah, they were included in the,
Oh, okay, Monday, August 23rd, is that what you said?
Yep.
All right,
yeah, they were part of the email that I sent out
yeah,
earlier today. Yeah, I can share them here too.
they're here. Okay, unless there's additions or corrections, I move to approve.
Oh, yes, I second. I did read that earlier today.
Okay.
All in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Kathy?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
So now we're looking at the 20, what are we looking at?
24th.
24.
Yeah.
So this is one where
There we
I
go.
just had a follow-up question, Eric, about the
Mhm.
generator.
Yep.
I'm happy to go through the board or the committee minutes that are on the website. If somebody could
Mhm.
just give me like a rough time frame of where to start or what range to look at.
Minutes for the generator.
Because
Yeah, I said I was going to dig up those minutes and I haven't done that yet. I am very sorry.
Yeah.
I
That's
will.
okay. I'm perfectly capable of doing it. Don't worry about it. Again, I
Well-
know that there was a gentleman's name that was mentioned, that it was while he was on the board, it was discussed. I just
Carl
wanted somebody
Schoen's.
could give me
Yeah.
a time range and I'll have a poke around.
Carl Schoen's, and that probably would have been, you think like 2017-ish?
I was thinking 2015 or 2016. But if I can get my desktop up here. I can find that in a jiffy.
Or you can just shoot me an email, Eric, when we're done with the meeting. No need to keep everybody
Sounds good.
for that. Okay.
So pending.
Hopefully with minutes, but definitely with a name and a date range.
So pending
Yeah.
further details on Carl Schoen's conversation about generator, we can approve the minutes.
Yeah, I have no issue with the minutes. It was just more of a,
Okay, so I.
when I read them, I remembered, oh yeah.
So I move to approve pending further information from Carl Schoen's regarding generator.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Minutes are approved. And we come to our final candidate.
What date is
Minutes
that?
from August the 30th.
Yeah. So I have I'm pretty sure it's a correction. I think Melissa's last name is Williams, not Waters.
Yes.
Mhm.
Whoops.
And I wasn't sure if her title was correct either. I don't know for sure exactly her title. I know when I did the minutes for last month,
Development coordinator.
development coordinator is correct.
Yep.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I move to approve the minutes pending correction of Melissa's last name.
I second.
Okay, all aye, aye.
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 Minutes are approved, and those were the last ones.
Eric, there is.
We're all
one
caught up.
more- There is.
Is
one
there?
more thing to talk about. Not minutes. But one more
Oh,
item.
thank heavens.
No, because my phone I couldn't swipe this anymore, so.
So what have we got?
Okay, so I just wanted to bring this up, and Bonnie, for your background very quickly. Several years ago, through efforts of Eric and staff, we were awarded a state grant of $100,000 towards, let's just say, construction costs on our building. I don't know the specifics, but, and we have yet to receive, I don't know, is it any money, Eric, or?
No,
Okay,
I haven't
none.
received any.
Because for whatever reason of the state. So it's a cumulative thing. So it doesn't have to be one project, it can be several. So Eric, I brought this up a few weeks ago. I wanted to make sure that with Lindy moving and everything else, that we have an accurate accounting of all costs that could be applied towards this, because we've done I know we got some money for the roof, but then we have that extra masonry. We
Yeah.
have the driveway or the parking lot. And then, of course, we'll have the Stroh room, and we have all these professional fees. So
Yeah.
I would guess we're pretty much at 100,000 at this point. So I would, and I know that we don't get too far with the state, but I think we ought to just kind of ramp up our inquiry. And I'm even thinking of calling, once we really have a document with the numbers, calling Representative Schneider's office. His office has always been very responsive. Perhaps even going to our federal senators and asking them for a nudge. Anything we can get to get our library at the head of this queue when and if the funds are available, I think is worthwhile. And again, it's good PR with potential donors, that we're doing everything we can.
Yep. Absolutely.
So could you maybe work on that? First of all, that list, that document, let's say in the
Will
next
do.
month, and just get it, and then we'll go from there. I can help you out with contacting people.
Okay.
Thanks.
Sounds good. I'll get that ramped up in terms of the formal accounting, as well as pulling together the information to send out as far as requests to various elected officials.
Yeah, and I remember also dig out the parameters of the grant, because I know they were pretty wide. And I'm wondering if, for example, if Melissa's salary can be included in that.
Maybe. We can ask.
Yeah, I think
That can't hurt.
I'll explore everything. So, all right, that's it. Thank you.
All right.
Just to quickly build on that, this infrastructure bill that is gaining momentum, it seems, at the federal level. I don't know if anybody knows if there's anything in it in regard to libraries. I don't know if we have a policy relationship with anyone, either at the state or federal level, who could dig into that for us. Is that something we should take a closer look at? Or I guess it could wait until a vote happens.
Well, I think it's extremely important that we consider that. Brad Schneider has been a real friend to his constituents. There's no doubt about that. So as soon as we get a yes vote on that, which hopefully will be this week or not, we'll just have to wait and see. It's worth a contact. Don't forget he's up for re-election in the year. So, any publicity we can give him is that he considers favorable is good for him. And perhaps he's aware of how the state can funnel in. Who knows how all these, pathways of funding goes, but we should be working on it. So good idea.
Right. And I'll further throw in another little pitch, maybe a generator could be funded through the state grant that you mentioned, Kathy, or the infrastructure plan. I don't,
Sure. Infrastructure would be key because of all the climate stuff and concern about flooding and electric. That's actually a really good notion. And Eric, just another to-do list of trying to document power outages and that kind of thing in the village. I'm sure Drew could help us with that. It would be good to have those numbers available. When might we be an emergency center, and how are we prepared for that? So
true.
Okay, really good thoughts, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah.
Cool. And I'm sorry, just one more quick thing because it's timely, right? So myself, Martha, Eliza, was that it? The three of us went to Deerfield for a technology committee visit, really. But we had a little time at the end, and I just happened to ask about the building itself. I used to live in Deerfield. The building has been substantially improved and expanded since I lived there 20 years ago. And I asked, I said, do you have a generator? Yes, they do. It runs mechanicals to the HVAC system. The lights dim. They don't have enough of a generator, I guess, to keep all the lights on all the time when they're on generator power. But it is something they use. And they say that really it's not so much that they find their patrons or community members come to the library when the power's out, because it tends, I'm not sure why, but they said what it really does is helps to maintain the building at a comfortable temperature, whether it's AC or HVAC, so that when the power comes back on, there's not that awkward kind of adjustment period where you walk in, you're like, my gosh, it's still freezing here in the library. So that was just something. And then I also asked about their building improvements. They've built 6 study rooms, they've built 3 or 4 meeting rooms. So when and if, we're talking about further renovations or expansion of our library, I have a few comments from them on that.
Yeah, great. Some of us toured that a couple of years ago, and they did this fantastic job. And the director during their renovation was a prior Lake Bluff director. I don't know if you know that.
Yeah.
And Bonnie, I wanted to say after your explanation at the board meeting the other night, you're doing a wonderful job as a new trustee. You've jumped right in. You're
Thank
right on
you.
target with ideas. You're a good leader. You're everything we look for in a trustee. So I want to thank you for that. I was very impressed with everything you're doing.
You're very welcome. Thank you. I'm enjoying it immensely. Good. And even next time, Janie, we meet for Building and Grounds, I'll take the minutes.
Oh,
having read through all the numbers, I'm like, oh, she's so succinct. I still have a little to learn, so thank you. But thank you.
Thank you. Sounds good.
All right.
Okay.
So anybody want to move to adjourn?
Bonnie, go ahead.
I move to adjourn our Building and Grounds for November.
I second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks
All right.
everybody.
Meeting's adjourned. Take care, everybody.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.